Maximize your gift so you can live your life. Simple words from a Houston entrepreneur who maximized his love of construction. And now we'll dive into his up-and-coming real estate development company in Houston. You're here in the Enterprise Zone at the NASDAQ. Hello, everyone. It's Jabari Young, senior writer at Forbes at the Enterprise Zone in the NASDAQ, of course. And I am joined by Houston entrepreneurs. We celebrate and close out Black Business Month in August. His name is Kevan Shelton. He is the CEO of Park Street Homes. This is a Houston-based home building company. And he is here now to talk and dive more into the real estate business. Kevan, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for making the trip. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Listen, man, we've come a long way, right?
Yeah.
Talk about black men buy houses and all that good stuff, man. Definitely looking to dive into it. Is this your first time here at the NASDAQ?
It is.
Wow.
It's a beautiful space. Thank you for having us up
crazy.
here.
What you think so far?
I mean, love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see just all the technology and everything you guys have.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a different feeling when you get to walk into a stock exchange.
Oh, yeah, look. I got to get one of those pictures up there.
There you go, man. There you go, right? Park Street Homes go public,
There
right?
we go.
I love
We'll
it,
do
man.
it. We'll
Well,
take
listen,
it.
we're here, right? Give me a stock. What's something that's worked for you, something that you're interested in?
So I got to give you something in the home building space,
Okay.
or at least the construction space. So QXO.
QXO.
Brad Jacobs' new company. You see what he did with United Rentals, and now he's moving in the home building space.
Nice.
So QXO is building products, so roofing, siding, things like that, and they are revolutionizing a lot of the kind of unconsolidated parts of the building industry. So all of the supply, they're automating, they're putting robots in the factories, they're automating the supply chain and making it much easier for the unaggregated home building sector to come together.
Yeah,
So.
I love that, man. I love it. So let's say you walk into a class in Houston, right? And they don't know who Kevan Shelton is, and he says, "What do you do, Mr. Shelton?" What do you tell them? May I buy homes? I fix them? I sell them? What do you do?
So I would definitely say I'm a home builder. Because I'm a home builder by trade. That's what I've spent my life doing, is being a builder. But more than anything, I think for me, finding a way to bring community, right? So not just community in the real estate space, but community across the real estate board.
I love that. Well, listen, Black Business Month is here, man. If you had to give me one Black business entrepreneur, right, or someone that you've admired within the community, or not even in the community, right, because it is Black Business Month, but who have you kind of admired or idolized over the year, or what company, what sector?
I'd say there's a couple of great entrepreneurs over time. Reginald Lewis, of course, is one that comes to mind. Don Peebles is one that comes to mind. If I had to pick my favorite, I would say I really have followed the journey of Don Peebles and what he's done. And I think he's really left a mark and a legacy throughout real estate and development that it makes it much easier to follow. He broke a lot of barriers and opened a lot of doors for us developers.
Yeah, I thought you was gonna say Clyde Drexler from Houston. He did some stuff in real estate too, right?
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
Clyde
true.
got some buildings downtown, right? Did some
That's
stuff in real
true.
estate too.
Clyde Drexler, Hakeem, all of
Yeah,
them.
absolutely, man, absolutely. So listen, what's been keeping you motivated in 2025, man? What's been your soundtrack to life?
Honestly, the market is dynamic. So, we've seen affordability be kind of the #1 topic, which we specialize in affordable housing. So for me, the everyday journey of just building this business is motivation enough.
Yeah.
Every day we get up, we have more mountains to climb and things to conquer. So we've really been busy at Park Street.
And what are you listening to while you're doing all of this? What's been your inspiration?
It's funny, I'm an old school person in my soul, and my father
got Al
just
Green,
passed
man.
a couple of weeks ago. So Donnie Hathaway.
Hathaway.
Yeah.
Man, I was wrong. I said Al Green. You got some Donnie Hathaways.
No, my father.
Yeah.
My father was Donnie Hathaway, Stevie Wonder. So I've been on repeat with Donnie
just
Hathaway.
keeping that song's going, right? Keys of Life. Steve.
Well, Key of Life is Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, I know.
So,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Keeping that on there as well.
Yep.
Donnie Hathaway, Stevie Wonder. Listen, man, as you're here, you also have a podcast, Marriage and Real Estate Podcast. Man, how's that going?
So Marriage and Real Estate is a podcast. We no longer have it.
You don't have it anymore?
We no
What
longer
happened
have
to
it.
it?
So as we grew our business and got way more busy and Black Men Buy Houses kind of took hold, we really want to focus on the other aspects of real estate. So building our company and then building the brand with Black Men Buy Houses.
We got to bring that back, man. Right? Marriage and Real Estate, that was a good podcast.
It
What's going on?
is. It's a great podcast, and we enjoyed the space. I think for us, finding that angle to speak to couples and families and building generational wealth has really been our kind of claim to fame. And for us, that's where we want to make our mark. But Black Men Buy Houses is so much more of an important journey, and then Park Street is so much bigger of a business that we really want to focus on that.
Yeah, definitely want to get into the Black Men Buy Houses, but again, take me on the inside of Park Street, right? Again, this is a home building company, right? You and your wife are kind of running it. Aisha, she's sitting right over there. But take me inside of it, right? For those people who may not know what Park Street Homes is, what would you say it is? How would you describe it?
So Park Street Homes is revolutionizing the urban core. So for us, we focus on urban areas, inner cities, blighted areas, historically underserved, underfunded, undercapitalized, that the average price in the average household has been divested over time, right? So the average real estate age is almost 50 to almost 100 years old, depending on the city. And you see a lot of these communities are communities that were once great, but have since been divested for more of a suburban feel. So we go into these areas, we partner with cities, we partner with large nonprofits, we partner with private landowners, and we build new housing. Everything from affordable housing in partnership all the way up to custom homes. So we're able to touch different price points of the market, and we do that in Houston, Birmingham. We've looked at some opportunities across the rest of the state of Texas, Alabama, Georgia, hopefully Florida, things like that.
How many employees at Park Street?
So we have a small team. It's a little bit under 20 of us right now.
A little bit under 20. Are you hiring at all?
We are.
You are
I
hiring.
actually just hired 2 people today.
Okay, what areas are you looking for?
Construction, project management, development, all of those are aspects of our build. So.
Yeah, and it is, again, based in Houston.
Yes, our corporate office in Houston, we have an office in Birmingham, Alabama, and then as we go into different markets, we'll add additional staff.
How many investors in the company?
So right now, we took our company through a Reg CF process in 2023. We were the first company to do that on Start Engine. So you know Start Engine from Fanbase and some of the things that Isaac Hayes III is doing. We did that to really open up the company for public investments, which we got about 30 to 40 public investors from that, and then we also have private investors. So for us, we partner with different groups, whether it's institutional or private investors, to see how we can come together and create that value.
I saw the Start Engine one. I see 238,000 that you guys raised. I don't know if that's updated at all. Does it sound about right? 238,000?
So we closed out at 238,000. We were the first traditional home builder to actually raise on Start Engine, and of that platform, it's not something that companies like us traditionally do. From that, we also did a private round. So we did a high net worth round and raised just under $1.5 million from private investors. And we're always looking to partner and add value to, other groups.
So that's 238, and I'm seeing a $20 million valuation on this company. That sound right to you?
It is.
That's phenomenal. So you go and you build this $20 million, real estate and development company, over $100 million in projects that you guys have already completed, over $160 million that you've already completed, right?
So that's in my career.
That's in your career.
In my career, I've built over $160 million worth of projects.
Nice.
Under Park Street, we built just over $50 million worth of work.
Okay. So what's next for Park Street? What are you
Expansion.
Expansion.
Even more. So we have built a $50 million pipeline from what we currently have, and that's between Houston and Birmingham. And then we're looking to secure even more opportunities.
And you're going around, you're partnering with the cities, again, you're partnering with nonprofits to, buy the land, obviously, and build the homes and things of that nature. Get these communities up and running. How do you guys make money from these transactions?
So we're a home builder. So we develop the land, we build the houses. Of course, we make money and fees on that. Then we ultimately sell them to end buyers. So we believe in home ownership. So we are putting families in homes in these areas where we're building brand new housing that's coming from anything from a $200,000 price point all the way up to multi-millions, depending on the project. And for us, that's where we really make our bones.
I'm a sucker for real estate conversations. I love them, right? You get to break down a whole new dimension of the real estate industry, right? And so the home builder side, I really never dug too much into it, right? You're only dealing with who doing commercial and all that other, but you never really dug into the home builder side. But I had a chance to on this particular time, right? And you guys in this particular sector is going through some interesting times, right? High interest rates, right? I see some home builders are offering mortgage, buy downs in order to get building going again. I have a mortgage offer myself, and I called my banker, and he says, maybe you should not get your house built from the ground up. I says, well, why not? He says, because the materials, how can you trust the materials are going to be there because of what we're going through with geopolitical tensions, right? And so now that you're here, I would love to get your thoughts on what we're seeing overall, because right now, American housing is broken, right? There's a housing shortage, 46 million renters right now, right? It's a record high, right? 1.1 million first-time home buyers in 2024. That's down 380 fewer from the previous year, according to the National Association of Realtors, right? So you have trapped renters, right? You're a home builder. What do you see going on, and how can we turn this problem around?
Well, affordability is definitely one of the #1 challenges in the market right now. Whether it's mortgage rates or just the price of materials in a home, everybody's experiencing different levels of those challenges. For us, we focus on the affordability side from a build. So we're building smaller, close to what historically has been your starter home, and we're really focusing on value engineering our house to give the most value to the buyer and create that incentive for them to be able to buy. Because if you have a 7% mortgage rate, you can only spend so much money on a house. So back when mortgage rates were 2%, you know, somebody who could afford a $500,000 house now in a 7% environment is buying something that's $300,000.
Yeah.
So there's a big drop off in what somebody's able to actually get for their money. For us, we focus on how do we give you more for what you're actually spending. So you look at big builders like a D.R. Horton or a Lennar that's giving people incentives, they're buying people into their houses. Well, we can't compete in that same way. So how do we compete? We're working with cities to cut down land prices. So when we're buying land from cities, we're paying a nominal fee, but it gives that value to the buyer so that now we can pass forward that savings. So you're not paying land cost as well as the build cost.
Well, I was going to ask you how you're competing against the bigger players, right? The competitors, because you can't obviously do what they're doing. You're a smaller firm. Hopefully, maybe one day you will. But how do you compete in this big landscape when you have those DRRs? They're here in the East Coast. We have Toll Brothers, right? You know, there's a whole bunch of bigger players out there. Some of them publicly listed, right? How are you, a smaller guy, competing against them?
The good thing about being small is we get to be creative. And a lot of times, big builders are stuck in this kind of buy box, right? Where they can only build this at this price point this way. We are way more nimble than that. So we're able to do creative deals with our partners, whether it's a city or a private landowner, to make deals pencil that otherwise big builders can't make pencil. We're also able to build more creatively in what the product is we give to the end buyer. So we're giving you a nicer house for what you're getting for the same price that you'd be paying from a big builder, because it's not necessarily a master plan community. We're doing smaller communities. We're doing smaller parcels of land. We're building up vertically. We're giving people density. And a lot of the big builders are still doing a suburban sprawl model where you get, a single family house in a master plan community or in a suburban community where you're outside the city center. You're not close to restaurants. You're not close to the bars or the employment centers. For us, we're building right in the heart of the city, in areas where other builders don't necessarily want to be or can't navigate that space because it's not as easy as a cookie cutter suburban box. We specialize in the non-cookie cutter, right? We specialize in the areas that otherwise would be overlooked because we know that's where the value is. And historically, especially inside the city, those are the areas where people saw value back in the 50s and back in the 60s, but over time just got slowly divested. And now you're seeing people move back into cities. You're seeing cities like Detroit and Baltimore, cities where people want to come back, but there's nothing for them to come back to. We're building the product for them to come back to. Giving them a nicer product in that landscape, and we call it the Oasis effect, where you come into one of our homes, you forget about your surroundings. You forget about what you're missing in that suburban community. That is our competitive advantage when it comes to the big builders.
If I get to a place where I do want to buy, right, why am I not going to another small developer, right? Why am I going to Park Street Homes? What's your sell?
Because you get the same systems, precision, execution that you would get with a large builder from a small company, right? So for us, we're not a mom and pop builder. We still have an institutional approach to building because of our background corporatized. But we're giving you that same feel, that same service, that same quality that you would get with a small builder.
I love that. And in this era where, personal communication, was a personal touch when you walk into a store, right? You don't get it as much anymore. There's no greeters like that. You don't have it. So I love that when you say you're giving that personal touch that maybe the big guys ignore and you guys can kind of be a little bit more hands-on.
That's the differentiator because you can walk in a big box and get, here off the shelf. But how do you get that personal service if you don't have somebody dedicated to give you that?
Well, take me deeper inside the housing sector and the real estate sector, man. I mean, what is the headwinds, some of the headwinds that you see and some of the tailwinds already that's over for the industry?
I mean, of course, tariffs are on the top of everybody's mind. We're looking to see now that the dates are looming or the dates have since kind of passed and gone back and forth about what tariffs are going to impact from a materials perspective. So we're always focusing on that. We're looking at land costs. Land cost is rapidly rising throughout the country. We're looking at the availability of actual materials, supply chain, right? We experienced that during COVID where costs skyrocketed. Continuously, we face these challenges, and for us, it's finding ways to navigate them within the markets that we serve.
Yeah.
But it's a regular challenge, and it's something that we're constantly focused on.
Yeah, how are you navigating as far as, especially with the materials? Like, I mean, that's a big thing, right? The cost of steel, cost of wood. How are you navigating that? Because this impacts your bottom line, if I'm not mistaken, these materials you need to build.
So we're automating where we can, right? We're buying in bulk where we can. We're working with our suppliers and our vendor partners and trade partners to stabilize costs so that we don't see those direct impact. And then we're planning ahead. So we know, okay, we're going to build 100 homes in 2026. We know in advance what we're doing, where we're building. So we want to make sure that we already have all of the materials, the supply chain, everything ordered in so that we can take care of anything that would be a variance in that cost to still make our deals work.
What's it like being a CEO of Park Street Homes, of a real estate development company? Like, how is that for you?
Dynamic. It keeps me busy.
Yeah.
A lot of late nights and early mornings.
Yeah, that's a lot of late nights or early mornings, but like, does it take away from your life? Like, how do you navigate it?
I love it. I'd say this is all I've wanted to do since I was 12 years old. So every day is an amazing day. And I get to work with my lovely wife, who's our chief growth officer, and we lead the company together. We have a dynamic board. We have some great strategic advisors. So for us, every new challenge gives us the opportunity to not only sharpen our skills, but also be creative in how we tackle them. I think, this is the biggest house I'll ever build, right? So I get to enjoy that every day.
It doesn't lead to more like home arguments when you're working with your wife at the office and then things get carried over, like you get in the house and it leads to a bigger argument? Like,
it used to. When we first started the company, we were trying to establish what the roles were. And she was trying to sell, or I was trying to sell the houses, she was trying to build them. And it didn't really work. And once we found our roles in the business, and she's honestly the visionary behind everything.
That's right. She had her house before yours, at age 25.
At 22.
22 or 25?
22.
22. That's even worse. She had
her house at 22. And she knew what we could do and what we were capable of building. And really, it's my job to execute. So I focus on my job, and she focuses on casting the bigger vision.
So she's the real boss then?
She is the boss.
I was just saying, she should be up here on the show.
She's actually,
get out of here, man.
She's the chairwoman of our board too, so she's everybody's boss.
Yeah, love it, man, love it. Take me back then, because you grew up in the 3rd Ward of Houston. What was that like for you? I've made plenty of trips to Houston before, not necessarily in the 3rd Ward, heard stories about the 3rd Ward, listen to 5th Ward juveniles, right? But I'm not in the 3rd Ward, but what was that like for you?
3rd Ward was a beautiful environment to grow up in. I would say I got the blessing of growing up in 2 environments. I got to grow up in 3rd Ward and I got to grow up in River Oaks. River Oaks is the most affluent community in Houston proper, and 3rd Ward is one of the historically black communities. So I got to see 2 sides of the coin. I got to see the economy and business and entrepreneurship on a very high level. And I got to see poverty, and I got to see struggle, and I got to see people working hard for every dollar. And that gave me a really nuanced view. And I got to walk out of one door and walk into another door every day. And it's a situation that it gives you a great perspective of life, but it also humbles you in a lot of ways.
Take me back to that, Kevin, when your dad and you were in the car, and he was showing you all those mansions, and he said, you should be building that.
My father's view was that was real life. So he used to walk me in the big houses and say, this is the only thing that matters. This is real life. And I caught the bug. And from 12 years old, I knew that building was the only thing that matters. And it's funny, I built hospitals at a portion of my career. And I used to take him to hospitals and I'm building them. I'm like, hey, this is a $140 million hospital. And he'd be like, okay, but show me big houses. And until we started building houses, it didn't click for him that I was doing exactly what he showed me to do.
Yeah. What'd you learn from your dad?
So much, so much. My father was truly a maverick. He was somebody who the world came to him. He wrote his own ticket. He was dyslexic, so he didn't have the ability to read or write well. And I saw him walk through the world in a lens that most people would never see. You know what I mean? Because he had to talk, he had to create conversation. He never met a stranger. He would walk up to anybody and strike up, and they would love him upon meeting him. And he gave me that same bravery. He gave me that ability to create my own opportunity, and I'll forever be grateful for that.
And you graduated from going to the University of Houston.
I did.
University of Houston, graduated from their construction management degree.
I did.
Spent 10 years in college, man. What were you doing all that time, man? 10 years in college, but then you meet your wife, man, and you guys, kind of start the business. But in college, as you're going through trying to figure it all out, what is your self-talk? What are you telling yourself about, all right, I got to get out of this. I got to, graduate and make a decision and move on in my career. What are you telling yourself?
I was never a great academic. I always had an amazing work ethic, so I built an amazing career. By the time I graduated, I was a project manager, which most of my peers were graduating and interning. So for me, work was always the focus. That wasn't necessarily a good thing, hence why I was in school 10 years. But I learned a lot of tenacity. Nobody kept me in school but myself. Nobody paid for that except for me. And it taught me to stay true to myself, to stick to it, to never quit. And that die-hard feeling, that die-hard go-getter attitude, I continue to hold to this day. That's why building this company has been such an amazing journey, and we're coming up on 10 years for Park Street. And I also would say, I was a father very early. I was a father at 21, and that gave me a resilience and a responsibility. I call it traumatically responsible, right? It gave me such a core belief that not only can you do anything that you set your mind to, but the resources will provide themselves as you go forward. So if you build it, they will come kind of mindset.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And speaking of how you built it, right, you take me back into how you built your business, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, again, after your wife and you guys meet, you move in with her, move out of your apartment, give her all your money, because you just said, look, she's better with the money than I am, right? So you give her all the money. And then you guys do the FHA, situation. And, how did you start Park Street Homes? Like, take me back to that first step, right? What did you do? How much did you need to invest?
She had a much better plan than I had. Now, I'll say, not only owning our own house, but just being smart with her money. And growing up in my household, being smart with money was not something that I learned.
Yeah.
So when we got together, I was paying $1,350 a month in rent in an apartment in the east side of Houston that was not the best. And she had a mortgage that was $700. And I said, hold on, you're doing something much different than I'm doing, so I might need to give you all my money. And that was the first thing I did. And we started working together and building something. We didn't know what it was when we first got started. And that first year of learning real estate and soaking up all the information, not only did we buy our next house for our family, but we were able to buy our first investment property. And from there, we started building the bones of what is Park Street today. So investing, renovating homes, buying rental property, and really growing the business that we see today.
Yeah, well, that's step one, though. You also, what was noticeable about your story is you took out 2 FHA loans, right?
We did.
Not married, but single, and you did that for a reason. Yep. Explain that, the reason why you did that.
When you're not married, you have the ability to each individually get your own FHA loan. So she had an FHA loan on her existing home, and then I leveraged my credit and capital to get an FHA loan, and then we got married. And what that gave us the ability to do is now you have 2 homes at the best rates at the time, as well as the best down payment. And then we leased out her home, and we moved into my home, and then eventually refinanced that home into a conventional mortgage and took money out, used that money to start investing. Used that money to buy our first flip property, used that to buy our next rental property, and then it kind of snowballed from there. So by the time we had built our business in a couple of years, we had almost 32 rental properties.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible, man. I mean, when you talk about construction and real estate, development, do you see a lot of black people in that particular field? If not, like, why do people need to maybe start looking that way?
So, real estate and construction is very capital intensive, so that's one of the reasons why you don't see as many of us involved in the space. But I also think it's a space that hasn't really been exposed to us. I got asked a question early in my career from a vice president of construction, and he asked me, he said, how do you recruit and retain African Americans in construction? And this is commercial construction. And I said, it's like a championship basketball game, and we're in the middle of the court. while the game is going on, and we don't know we're in the court, we don't know we're in the stadium, we don't know the game is going on. So it's really exposure. It's talking to the next generation, letting them know there's opportunities in construction, there's opportunities in the trades, there's opportunities in real estate, and it's all around you. You know, real estate is everything from where we are now in Times Square and all the, you know, families that have owned a lot of these parcels of land since the beginning of New York, all the way to, you know, that house next door to you, or the lot on the corner, or, you know, that little fruit stand. All of those are real estate. And for us to grow as an economy and a people, we have to continue to participate in this ecosystem called real estate, because America was founded on it. And if you go back post-slavery, what's the first thing we did post-slavery? We bought real estate. We started businesses and we bought real estate. And that is the vehicle that can help us get to bridging that gap economically.
Yeah. And you also, man, you have this great initiative. You know, I've spoken there again in Houston twice already with your Black Men Buy Houses, you know, event. People may look at that title and says, why does it have to be Black Men Buy Houses, right? I wanted you to explain why this means so much to you and your wife, Aisha, because again, when I went down there, I've seen you guys transform lives. I mean, I've seen you motivate a lot of young brothers, a lot of people just in general to come and maybe want to think about buying a house, think about getting into real estate. So I know the impact of your initiative, but why are you doing it and why did you choose that name?
You know, Black Men Buy Houses, it's not just a title, it's an action statement. It means Black men can buy houses, we should buy houses, we should participate in this economy. If you look historically, Black men are one of the lowest buying groups in the country, if not the lowest. And it really becomes a situation where we have to ask ourselves, are we doing what we said we need to do, right? If we want to bridge the wealth gap, if we want to participate, if we want our own piece of the American pie, are we stepping up to the plate to do that? And for us, we saw a lot of missed opportunities for Black men specifically because Black women are outbuying Black men 2-to-1. And we're seeing that disparity in the dating market. We're seeing that disparity in our families, in our pocketbooks every day. And even my personal story, I had the opportunity to buy my first home at 19. That house, it was $1,000 down, the house was $9,000. I needed a 580 credit score and I needed the $1,000 down. And my aunt, who is a realtor at the time, brought that deal to me, and I was a contractor and everything. And she said, hey, you can live in this house, you can work on it, and you can, you know, live in it until you rent it out. And I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out the $1,000. I didn't have the credit together to buy it, and I missed that opportunity. That house today is worth over $200,000, just the dirt. That's an economic disparity that's happening across our country for Black men specifically, us not taking the opportunity to buy real estate. So when it was 11 years later and I bought my first house, that house today that I bought, it has $111,000 in equity in it today. In 11 years. So this is our chance to build something that we can then pass on to the next generation. We can use to pay for the kids to go to college or for us to start that business and take chances. But if we never start playing the game, we can never get the benefits of playing the game over time.
Well, what would you tell that 19-year-old today that might be in the same position
Buy the house.
as you? Well, what if you can't afford it? Like, what do you do when you come into these people who maybe they're scared because again they see these high interest rates, they see how much money is going to cost, and you know they're scared to jump. Like, what would be your advice to them?
So I'll say this: you miss every shot you don't take, right? I'll also say there are people surrounding you that you can ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. When I was 19, I was afraid to ask for help. That same uncle and aunt, at the time, my uncle was waiting to help me, but I never asked. I just took it on myself and said, it's not something for me. I can't do it. So the reason we started Black Men Buy Houses is to have the conversation that we're not having as a community, to ask the questions that we're not asking our peer group. Me and my friends weren't talking about buying houses when I was 19. We might have been talking about cars, we might have been talking about ladies, we might have been talking about, you know, going out. We weren't having the conversation about real estate. Compared to Aisha and her friend group, we're talking about, hey girl, how do you buy that house? Okay, now let me show you. So when she bought her house, 5 of her friends went out and bought their own houses. Now here we are 13 years later, they're all homeowners with tremendous amounts of wealth built in owning those houses, compared to my friend group that didn't do the same thing. And now we're sitting 10 years, 15 years later with debt, you know, high car notes, things like that, and we didn't build that same wealth in the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it, man. You're important that you're doing this initiative again. I love coming to talk to them, and I saw the impact of the room. That's how you usually know if it's working, when you see the impact in the room, you see people asking questions, and you guys didn't see it, but going up to asking, even some of your guests that were there about if they found the event to be educational, and the answer was yes. And so, you get it from your own, consumers, your own people that are asking to come in. So it's an important initiative. I'm glad you continue to do it with Black Men Buy Houses. But look ahead and close time, man. Get you out of here on some fun stuff. Have you ever made $1 million?
I have made $1 million.
You have made $1 million. Phenomenal. How'd you make it?
So real estate.
Real estate.
Now, do I get to keep the $1 million is the question.
Well, at least you made it, though, right? Some people haven't made it.
I have made it.
Made it through real estate.
I would say this. Making the $1 million is great. Keeping the $1 million is more important.
Well, the next one was going to see, how did you spend the $1 million? How did you spend it?
We invested it back in real estate.
Oh,
so,
that's no fun. Come on, you ain't spending on a nice car or something, man?
No.
No?
No.
At all? Your wife go to vacation? Nothing at all?
I would say our best investment to date is Park Street Homes.
Nice. Park Street Homes. Mm-hmm. Well, you made the $1 million. You didn't spend it like that, and well, I guess you're still having fun with it. When you look at the Houston real estate market in general, right? Talk to that investor about why they should pick Houston, right? The latest Federal Reserve Beige Book, which released in June, just looking at the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, which oversees Houston, slow pace, right, and traffic and sales. Still, you mentioned affordability, tariff concerns, but then you have rising inventory and the incentives around it, right? Inventory levels, according to the Federal Reserve, are rising for both new and existing homes. Builders are, again, offering more incentive to close, putting more pressure on their margins. Why should someone choose Houston to maybe build or maybe go down and to develop, looking at what's going on in that particular part of the country?
I'd say Houston has amazing fundamentals as a city, right? Not only our population growth, but also just the hard industries that power the city. Back in the 80s, Houston was primarily oil and gas. Now we have a really diversified industries. We have healthcare, we have other forms of energy, we have technology that are really powering the way for our population growth. I would also say we're looking at real estate in a microcosm, right? So we're saying, okay, in 2025, interest rates are high, costs are high. But if you project that out, if you look at 2035, if you look at 2045, where will real estate be and what will be the availability of housing? And if you look back historically, these are amazing prices, right? Because real estate is not something that they make more of every day. They don't make more land. So the reality of the situation is you're looking at something that you have the opportunity to buy today, and the opportunity tomorrow is not guaranteed, right? Opportunities are infinite, but they're not infinite opportunities. For you or any person looking to invest in a market, you look at what are the core drivers of the market. What are the core things keeping this market stable over time, which Texas is an amazing state to be in. It's an amazing state for business. It's an amazing state for landlords. It's an amazing state for homeowners. Also, you look at where's the future of this market going? And when I look at Houston's future, it's very bright. When I look at markets like Birmingham, the future is very bright. And I think in a lot of our urban cities that historically, again, have been divested over time, we're going to see a resurgence like we haven't seen in 60 years.
Yeah, is it going to happen next year, man? Please, I need these prices to drop.
We don't know. We don't know.
I want to not be a trapped renter.
So don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait.
Yeah, I love it. Wait for interest rates to come down, and you can refinance and do all that good stuff.
Maybe. And these interest rates are historically low compared to if you look at what real estate
That's very true. 7% is nothing compared to the 18 that they was paying back.
When my parents bought a home, interest rates were 13, 14%.
Yeah. Keep it in context. Absolutely, man. Look around the world. Where does Kevan Shelton and Aisha Shelton, got to keep your wife in there, where do they invest outside of the U.S.? What country is interesting?
So we've looked at several countries in Africa, and I would say my wife was the first one to expose me to the continent and take me back there and really give me the opportunity to look at what the rest of the world is doing and where the emerging markets are. So if I'm going to put my money up, I'm going to put it on the continent. Yeah. I'm going to put on their population growth. I'm going to put on the future of young people and where technology is really driving. So I'm going to invest in Africa.
Yeah, I'll ask you this question because it's one of the first questions you asked your wife, right? Mm-hmm. What book are you reading right now to perform your best, inspire you? What book right now are you picking up and reading?
There's an amazing book called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. It's one of my favorites, and I read it probably.
Outwitting the Devil?
Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Mm-hmm. I read this book maybe 3 times a year, And the reason I like this book is it's all about mindset. And in this book, Napoleon wrote this book in 50s, 60s, I want to say. The book wasn't released until 30 years after his death because they were so afraid of the topics in this book. And the topics spoken are as real today as they were when he originally wrote it. And it's amazing to see the correlations to everything we're going through now, and it gives a tremendous perspective. So you read the news, you look at the news, and you say, oh my God, the world is crashing, everything's going crazy. I shouldn't do anything, I should just hide in a hole. This book gives you perspective on the 20s and the 30s and the 40s so that you know this is just a part of this, the cycle of life, right? The cycle of the economy and all the things that our country regularly will go through. And it gives you great perspective so that you don't feel like you're in this once-in-a-lifetime tragedy or this once-in-a-lifetime struggle. It's just a part of the journey. And with difficulty comes opportunity. And I'd say that in real estate, I'd say that in business. There's tremendous difficulty, but it's also a lot of opportunity.
Love that, man. Get you out of here on this, right? Jim Collins wrote his book, Good to Great. Get you out of here on the Good to Great question. What's the difference between a good real estate developer and a great one?
In a market with so much technology, I'd say the difference between a good real estate developer and a great real estate developer is somebody who has a pulse on what the consumer is doing, what the customer is doing. Whoever super serves the customer going into the future will be the one that stands out because that's where the dollars go. And in a market where somebody could get virtually anything and everything's at your doorstep, the only way that you can separate yourself is by super serving your customer.
I wish I fell in love with construction when I was 12. Could have been building houses right now, man, instead of sitting up here talking about it. And I would have made $1 million and all that good stuff too. So, you
got to keep it though. I didn't get to keep it.
Listen, I mean, you made it though. You made it. That's it. But I appreciate the time, Mr. Shelton, Kevan Shelton, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you're doing as far as Black men buy houses as well. Again, a very important initiative. Continuing that conversation going because, again, real estate, that is a quick path and probably the best path to generating wealth. So definitely appreciate the time. And Park Street Homes, got to come down and move to Houston, get y'all to build me a house.
We might come up here. There
you go. Build me a house for free. Right? For free, right?
We just talked about material costs.
That's what I know. That's what I'm saying. We may have to wait until material costs goes down. Maybe these tariffs get out of the way.
Once they come down.
Yeah, once they come down, we can talk. And I'm not talking about one of them model Barbie houses. I'm talking about a real house that I can move into. Right?
We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Kevan Shelton, Park Street Homes. You're in the Enterprise Zone. Thanks so much for watching.